Hi guys, wait for a few seconds. We'll start very soon. Just few seconds. All right, guys. Thanks for joining this session. So the agenda is the session is we are going to understand Zscaler Private Access policy type, right? And policy concepts. Means whatever the policy Zscaler GPA is going to be used. We'll try to understand what are the different policy in Zscaler have, especially for the Zscaler Private Access, because I getting a lot of questions from the lot of audience, uh, like global audience especially. They're asking the few questions or how many policies in GPA and why basically all policies are getting used. What are different use cases? So I thought I cannot show all the configurations, but definitely I will help you to understand. So we'll see what are the policy type we have in the GPA. So we can see we have a lot of policy type. The access policy we have the timeout policy, right? And we have the client forwarding policy. We have the isolation policy. We have the security policy. We have the privilege access policy, right? And redirection policy. So basically, I will explain each policy type, why this policy is there, and what are different policy we have, and what are the use cases, in which condition, which policies should be configured, and what are the examples. So in case in your scenario, if you're using the GPA, Zscaler Private Access, you can easily understand. So I prepare one of the slides as well. Uh, but I just for the reference, I prepared one of the slides, and you can see we are going to discuss about the Zscaler private access policies. We already know if you are coming from the Zscaler private access background, this is a one kind of the replacement of the VPNs. Like if you're coming from the VPN background, like Global Protect VPN, FortiClient VPN, Cisco AnyConnect VPN, any other VPN, which is going to use for the remote access. Similarly, Zscaler Private Access is basically Zscaler solutions, which actually allow your work from home user to access your private application securely with the Zero Trust Network fundamental. So you can see this is GTNM. That's a Zscaler Private Access solution, cloud-based Zero Trust Network Access solution that provides secure direct connectivity between the user and private applications. Means user is at home, user is roaming, might be it is traveling, airport, hill stations, any favorite destination. Still, he can access any private application hosted in the cloud infrastructure, hosted in their data center infrastructure, or any other hub locations without any restrictions, with all security parameters, which is going to maintain your zero trust concept. So they use the centralized policy concept, and that's why like we have to discuss one by one what is access policy. You can see here what is a timeout policy. People always confused about the access policy, timeout policy, client forwarding policy, isolation policy. So quickly I'll show you, then I'll explain in my own language and you can understand that. So access policy we have, timeout policy we have, client forwarding policy we have the isolation policy, we have the security policy, we have the privilege policy, and then redirection policy. Then we'll do the like comparative analysis also, which policy is going to use for what regions. So very first policy, guys, if I go in my dashboard, let me go here. And the policy, what is the policy? Policy is nothing. If I just define the policy definition, policy is nothing. It's just logical, like actually decisions, what kind of traffic, what kind of the users, and what kind of the authentications I need to apply before I can give any actions to any user for any application. So my zero trust concept is going to be maintained. That's the clear definition. It means you keep creating a policy like BGP route policy. If you're coming with a network background, you create the policy, BGP route policy. How BGP route policy? It is going to decide which path is going to be best for the any kind of the destination. If you're creating the firewall policy, in firewall policy, what you do? You match certain conditions. Based on that certain conditions, you allow some traffic for the certain destination. You allow some traffic for the URL. You allow some traffic for the any applications. You allow for the any port number. That's the policy. So policy is nothing. It's just conditions based any kind of the traffic you want to allow or you want to block. So same way in Zscaler private access, we use the policy. In GIA also use the policy. So they have the multiple criteria. You can see we have the like access policy, timeout policy. So let's understand what is the policy and why they use a different policy type. What is the meaning of the access policy? That we have to understand, the first one. Then what is the meaning of the timeout policy? Right, that second one. Then what is the client forwarding policy isolation? So when we have to understand each and everything. So let's start with the first policy, that is known as the access policy. So very precisely, if I just explain, if I talk about access policy, that means it is going to control who can access which internal application under what conditions. Simple definitions. Means if I'm going to define this access policy, who can access my internal applications? Who can access internal application means your private application, and what conditions? That's most importance. Means if conditions is going to meet, then only it is going to like access. Let's suppose my name is Pankaj, right? And I have to access my company application. Take an example. So being a policy, if I creating the policy, you can see if I go and create the policy. So I have to define different certain conditions. I need to give the policy name. I need to give the descriptions. Now I have to give the connector which is going to be like send the traffic, right? And then what rules should be allow access, block access, conditional access. You can see even have the conditional access as well. So definitely when we do the discussion about the configuration, I'll explain these all things. And also we have the lot of criteria. And so what is going to happen means who I am. First of all, am I actually eligible to access this application? How it is going to happen? Based on my identity, based on my department, based on my role and responsibility. If it is going to be eligible, then it's fine. I will be allowed to go and access the application. That's a very simple rule, simple concept. Means first they will check my eligibility. If I am eligible, then if let's suppose I have to access some HR applications. So might be HR applications have the multiple kind of the role-based access. Somebody going to fetch the entire report. Somebody can fetch the entire employee database. Somebody is going to fetch the entire employee salary informations. So what kind of role I have that particular HR portal? So that is also condition is going to meet what is my role and what level of access I can get. So the policy is having the fundamental right that is going to define who you are and what internal application you are going to access and under what conditions. So basically this Zscaler policy, especially this access policy, is going to hurt. Basically, if I just define this, is going to act as a heart of the GPA, and this is going to check your user informations, your department information, group information, and which application segment you are going to access. And also it is going to check what is your device postures, means from where you are coming. Like you can see the CrowdStrike scores, your Zscaler client connector health, means the app which is installed in your PC. That all is going to check. Let's suppose in any certain condition, if you're coming to access any application and your Zscaler understand your CrowdStrike, that's the endpoint security, you can think about that. Score is very high, right? Means high means that is a low, means it's not good one, right? There is a threshold level. Let's suppose if the score is going to be 90 plus, then it is going to be allow. If it is going to be less than 80, then it is going to block. Means you are not in good position. Something is going to be fishy for network if it I'm going to allow the access. So it is going to monitor your score based on your device postures, even whatever the your BOID devices you are using. It will also going to check what is the Zscaler client health status also, right? So the responsibility of this policy is going to check user, the group, the device posture, and also they will verify what is the SAML authentication type, how you can configure, how you're authenticating the user. And also they are going to verify your scheme attribute, the SAML attribute. If all are going to match, then only it is going to allow the access. So basically it's going to act as a heart of your central policy, and it is going to check overall like who are you, from where coming, and what is your role to access the applications. Means everything, any application you are going to access, like you can think about the firewall rules. In firewall rule, what do we define? What is your source IP address? What is your destination IP address? Which URL you are trying to access? What application you are going to access? If all match, then might be your access is going to allow. If something is going to block, then it is going to block. Same role is going to be happen for the GPA, but it is going to check some additional steps as well. Not only your application, not only the user, not IP. IP definitely is not going to come in picture in, especially in the this kind of the application deployment. Definitely IP is going to be role, because without IP no application is going to work. But sometime when we create the policy, we never match the IP conditions sometime, right? So we ignore that based on the department, user group, and most important, they maintain your device postures information, your client health status, and scheme attribute, that SAML attribute. Then it is going to check your what is this crowd strike, right? That means the score. You can see this score is for 80. This is a 40. Then you have to block the access, right? Pre GTA, that's block the access. Say allow browser isolation, that is going to be happen. So they have the different SAML attribute, scheme attribute, right? Client type. So that what application segment, based on that it is going to be allow or deny. So this is your access policy. Now, if I explain about the timeout policy, the second policy we have, that is a timeout policy. People are always confused. What is a timeout policy? So timeout policy basically going to define, right? Simple definitions. Let's suppose any user interact with any applications. How long that user is going to be stay connected with that applications. It is going to be, let's suppose I'm the user and I connected with any application. Is it really I need to require the authentication, or might be I will be 365 day I'll be connected for that application? That might be a scenario is going to be happen. If today I authenticated, might be I'll going to connected that application for next 365 days, 50 days if my laptop is on, my internet is on. So this is not the right case. We are going to maintain the zero trust policy. So we have to make sure whatever the policy we are defining here, means any session is going to build, any session is going to build from the client to server, that must be have some kind of the re-verifications, right? Let's suppose this is my client. This is my client. This client is trying to access any kind of the server. So it is not going to be always connected. It's not like that. There should be some timeout conditions, and this timeout condition is required for re-authentication, re-auth. So this is going to control purpose of this timeout policy, to just make sure if user is connected for certain time of period, it's required the re-authentications. Take an example. If 24-hour I'll put, after 24 hours, this client must be re-authenticate to again access this particular server. Might be someone revoke the access. Might be, let's suppose I'm the user. I resign from the company. Okay. Let's suppose I have my laptop is still with me. My credential is not blocked for some reason. So still I can access the application. But if re-authentication is going to be there, my ID is going to block for some backend. Even I cannot access this particular portal and any applications. So this is going to be block. This is one thing. So certain time session duration is going to be defined. What is the session durations? And based on that, it is going to block. This is the first condition. Second conditions, let's suppose you're accessing any application and you're not interacting with this applications. Let's suppose you open the HR portal and you are not doing any activity for next 1 hour. So probably there is no activity. This particular application is going to show as a inactive. In that case, what is going to happen? I can define the timeout policy after 30 minutes, 45 minutes, just re-authentication is going to be required. That is also going to be help. Now, let's suppose the third is going to be, it is going to be force user to re-log in. It is also going to give force user to re-log in. How it is force going to re-log in? Let's suppose in any condition you connected with any portals, right? But timeout policy saying you require the authentication from the 24 hours. Means till 24 hour, it is going to be always connected with this application. This is your app, right? And this is the user. Now, what is your idle timeout? If you are not doing any activity for this application for next 30 minutes and 40 minutes, it is going to be inactive timeout. And again, you have to log in. Let's suppose you again connected with this application, but there is another method again you can configure is force user to re-log in after 12 hour, after 15 hour. So this again going to require any kind of the login. You can define any time, even you're going to give the 25 hours, 23 hours, even more than that, it is possible. So basically it is going to help user experience, and also it is going to maintain security parameters to make sure that timeout is going to help user and application going to be very like good way aligned with the zero trust concepts. This is the timeout policy. Okay, so probably we'll see how this timeout policy is going to configure later on. I'm not going to configure, but the goal is to explain every policy step by step. So this is my timeout policy, and I can define the time, a specific interval, and this all authentication, see minutes, time, criteria. You can see there are a lot of criteria: application, client connector postures, client type, platform, SAML scheme attribute. So we'll see later. But the end goal of the timeout is three: to make sure sessions should be enabled, disabled, ideal timeout if you're not accessing any application, or force user to re-authenticate. Okay, I hope you guys are clear. Any questions, put in chat. If you're watching on the YouTube, just put in chat. So I'll just explain. If you're watching on the portal, just put any comment on the email, or just reach out to the support team on WhatsApp. Probably they will forward that message to me as well. The third one, this is the client forwarding policy. This is quite confusing. I believe first two is very easy, but again, these all are going to be very confusing for you. What is the client forwarding policy? So if you're coming from the GIA background, you must be know forwarding pack, right? Forwarding profile, like how it is going to forward the traffic, forwarding method you have learned in the GIA, how GIA users send the traffic to the, gen via IPsec, via GRE, what is the GCC client connector configuration is going to happen, how you configure the forwarding profiles. Same way, here we using the client forwarding policy. This client forwarding policy, the purpose to defining this client forwarding policy, decide, right, whether this Zscaler client connector should forward traffic from device. Means if this is my user, right, and let's suppose I can go and log in my G app. Let me go and show you. This is my Zscaler, right? This is my GCC client connector. This is going to decide. Let me open it first. So let me log out. Okay. Let me check again if I can check it. Let me try one more time. So basically it was logged in, but I just logged out. Let me check again. Okay. So here is a private application. You can see. So it's trying to connect, right? And I just log out from here, and let me log out. I can show you. So it's going to be log out. But this application, yes, finally I'm in log out from the ZPA. So I can log in this particular Zscaler client connector portal as well. There's no problem. I can log in. But when I log in, right, this is going to decide, because this Zscaler client connector is going to serve three kind of the services. One is the Zscaler Private Access, one is Zscaler Internet Access, and one is the JDS, Zscaler Digital Experience. So it is going to decide whether Zscaler client connector should forward the GPA traffic from a device. Means once we build the GPA connector, it is going to build the micro tunnel with the your like GPA connectors. And I already show you how to build a GPA connector. Might be you guys like have seen my GPA connector even I built in the previous lecture. We have one of the GPA connector which is live. Let me show you if it is ready right now. Here you can see. This is my GPA connector, and I can log in. What is the password? I forgot the password. I need to check the password. Quite long password. Let me try. Uh, I forgot the password, but this is the G connector is going to be live. Hold on. Let me get the password. I'll show you. This is one of GPA, which is the live right now. So let me see where I can save the password. I saved the password for this connector. Sorry guys, just give me 1 second. I want to show you something very interesting. Okay, I got the GPS CLI password. Okay, let me try with this one. So the username is admin. That's sure. Let me log in admin. Then it is going to be this one 2025. And then secure RE. Yeah. So I'm in the GPU, you can see. And if I just want to show you, like, I want to say, like, what is the status? So you always go on the internet and GPA, just search GPA CLI commands to check running status. Okay. So you're going to find some Linux based command and sudo systemctl status GPA connector and also GPA status, like you can just GPA status all. It is command is going to show your status. So I run sudo systemctl status GPA connector. So let me show you sudo systemctl status, right? And again, it is going to ask the password. So I will put it here. It's quite long password, so it's very difficult to remember. So hold on, guys. I want to show you something. Come on, man. Yep. So probably I need to log in this GPA connector. What is the full command? Let me check it with the full command. Hold on, guys. I missed track on the directions. GPA connector. Hold on. So I'll go again here and I'll put, see here. So this connector is basically, I want to show this connector is up and running. Even I have launched my own private applications and this is really live. You can see. Yeah. And I built some kind of the application and this having our public IP address and private IP address, and this is the active and working. It's absolutely fine. Enable. So this is what one day I'll show you. Even I deploy this connector from scratch in my data center. You can see this is my data center and we are running this GPA connector here, ESXi format. And you can see this is a GPA connector private IP address, also have the public IP address. So from this IP address also I can log in the GPA connectors. I'll discuss this, okay. But for time being, we have to understand how this client forwarding policy is going to come in a picture. Okay, that is the most important thing we have to understand. So one thing, whenever you build this tunnel, right? Whenever you build this tunnel, that micro tunnel is going to build. If you go and see here, GPA architecture diagram, they are going to build a micro tunnels from user to the GPA. So probably I can show you, not this one. Let me go and show you something. So this one, see. So whenever user is going to build, right, then it is going to build the micro tunnel to your GPA data center. And then it is going to build your, again, app connector is going to be there, and then a micro tunnel is going to build for your private data centers. And then you're going to access your all kind of the applications. So that's why the client forwarding policy come in a picture. This client forwarding policy is going to decide whether your traffic need to be forwarded from client connector. That's the applications. That is the first thing. And how they are going to leverage the tunnel. So basically what happened, this tells the Zscaler client connector whether to enable the GPA tunnel based on certain condition. What is going to be certain conditions? The tunnel is going to build based on the user identity. Means whenever the user is going to be connected to the application, if user is going to be valid user, then only this tunnel is going to build. That is the first thing. Second thing means authentication must be path. Their location is going to be also very important. What location the user? If that location is whitelisted or allowed, then it is going to be build the tunnel. The third thing, that device postures. Device posture means there are some parameters. Let's suppose, take an example, if my antivirus is expired, then probably I will not allow to build the tunnels. That's one conditions. If my device have some kind of the browser which is not supported, in that case it is going to be blocked. If my OS of device is not going to be allowed, in that case it is also going to be blocked. So there are certain conditions which is going to be used. So device posture is also going to be checked. And the fourth one, it is going to be used the IP range, from which IP range you are coming. So basically, it is going to forward GPA traffic only when device is outside of the office. But even it's outside the office, right? Why this GPA client forwarding policy is required? Because you are working from the remote. You are not in office. So if you're not in office, you need to build the tunnels with your connectors. And that tunnel need to allow further another micro tunnel with your data centers. And then it is going to be make the end-to-end communication. So first, the condition, you should be outside of network. You are in the not in LAN, right? Or you are bypassing your LAN. That's another example. Sometimes I'm in the LAN, but I'm bypassing my LAN. That is going to happen. But the condition is going to met here. So that is the forwarding client forwarding policy. If I go in the Google even and learn here what is the GPA client forwarding policy, you're going to get some definitions here as well. So whenever you confuse, you're not able to clear, right? You always take help from the AI and Google. It is going to give the very good definitions. See here. Zscaler Private Access Client Forwarding Policy. Define which application requests from the Zscaler client data are sent to the GPA access. So that is the one thing. Once user is going to be authenticated, it is going to make sure what application you need to access. It is going to be decided by the client forwarding policy. Means end user which application is going to access. It acts as the router, creating a rule to determine whether the forwarder specific private application traffic. Means it is going to decide which micro tunnel is going to use to forward the which connector, which data center that traffic. This is the same thing I was talking. And also bypass exception like trusted network. Same thing. If I'm LAN, how I can bypass? Basically, it used for the remote user, but even I can use the this LAN. And this policy is evaluated before access policy. What is access policy? This policy come later, but first this policy need to evaluate it. Then this policy, if the posture of device is not correct, then how this is going to be allowed? It is not going to be allowed. So this is how it is going to happen for the client forwarding policy. Clear? And finally, you can see it's using top to bottom first match principle, same SEL and policy. Top to bottom, it is going to match. If first entry is going to match, it is never going to check second entry. If second entry is going to match, it is never going to check third entry. If all top till last, nothing is going to match, the last one is going to implicit deny. Same principle it is going to follow. So I hope it is clear, guys. Client forwarding policy. I try my best, but still, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. There is no problem. Okay. Now moving next, that is the isolation policy. It's again quite confusing. What is the isolation policy? There is one term, might be you have learned browser isolation. It's same concept the Prisma Access is using. Same concept using by the NetSpoke, Carto, Versa. Also means every SASE vendor is using the same concept, the isolation policy. So what is the isolation policy? So basically what happened, sometime even we are using some application based on the completely browser, and that is not going to dependent on your any PC internal app. Let's suppose I have to access some HR portal. Okay. So first I'm going to use my browser. This browser is going to be completely isolated. And whatever activity I'm doing in the browser, it is not going to be download, upload in my system. Means whatever my any devices which is going to be part of the browser isolations. Means isolation policy is simple principle. You use a browser access. That browser access is going to be completely isolated and should be applied when user is going to access scenario when we have unmanaged device, means the laptop is not belong to the company. Let's suppose I'm working from home from my own laptop. My laptop is not belong to the company. Then what is going to happen? Any activity I'm doing, I can download my personal laptop, and this is going to be again problematic for my company. Might be I can use the data, I can leak something else as well. So how I can control? So browser isolation policy or browser isolations is going to give the feature where even I'm using my unmanaged device, means BYOD devices, even I'm using my any other home devices, whatever the context, whatever the content I'm using, browser isolation means app never going to touch your endpoint devices. Means everything is going to be isolated in the browser and everything is going to be inspected in by like my what I can say, my whatever the SASE solution provider like Zscaler. So if I go here GPA browser isolation policy, browser isolation concept, if you just learn here, you're going to find the similar definitions also. See here, GPA browser isolation concept integrate cloud delivered browser isolation with the Zscaler Private Access to protect sensitive internal application from the threats and unmanaged device. Unmanaged means your any bring your own device, BYOD devices, any device which not belong to your company. So this browser is going to completely isolate your things. Means it is going to be always in browser, and once you close the browser, all session is going to be clean. Nothing is going to be there in the cache and all. So you can see how it's work. Isolating in the cloud when user access the web internal application through GPA, their browser session run inside the virtual, right? An isolated browser in the cloud, not in their local device. So even local device will never come to know what you are doing. Everything is managing on the cloud. So means whatever activity you're doing, even you're opening the google.com, yahoo.com, facebook.com, it all going to be inspected by your cloud provider. And they use the concept of the pixel streaming. Instead of transferring active web content, right? The isolated browser render the web page and stream only the pixel to the user browser, providing the safe and vivid experience. Means you're going to see the all content, but they use the pixel streaming concept. Earlier, what you can do, you can use the cookies, you can download the content, everything in the local level cache, but it is not going to happen. They prevent the threat kind of things. Threat is not going to happen. Data leak is going to be prevented. Your seamless access is going to happen without any problem. So this is the all feature this policy is going to be give. Isolation policy means what you want to isolate. You have to define the browser access policy from here, and this you can create the rule, you can bypass the, you can isolate web browsers, and criteria you can define again. So I hope you understand the browser isolation means apply the isolation when user in the personal laptop. This isolation policy is going to be there. Apply the isolation when user accessing the marked as a sensitive application. Use this browser isolation even somebody is going to use the RDP via the browser. So again, it is going to act as a zero trust barrier and to provide the all zero touch experience. Clear? Now, again, we have the security policy. This is security policy. What is the security policy and what is the access policy? So access policy and security policy have the different role. Access policy is the first policy where we have to match the conditions what I explained in agree earlier, and but this security policy have the totally different concept. Means the purpose of this security policy, right? To add additional security requirement, means it is going to check additional security such as it is going to check device posture for a specific device type or a specific application type. Like you want to check like DLP, you want to apply for DLP, data leak preventions. This is going to apply here, DLP. Okay. You want to apply for the CASB, cloud access security broker, or even you want to use the Zscaler deceptions. We'll discuss what is deception. This is going to be there. So basically what happened, it is going to integrate with the some third party tools like CrowdStrike, Tanium, like other tool also we have endpoint tools available in the market, and they use the feature, the control beyond the basic based on the DLP, CASB, Zscaler deceptions, and then they apply the additional security policy. So if take an example, block access if device is outdated antivirus, sorry. This can be captured by this security policy. Means it is going to do the additional posture check. Definitely we going to check the posture check with the client forwarding policy, but this is going to integrate it here as well. So we can define the posture check in more detail here. Basic we can define here. Take an example, another example, allow access only if any CrowdStrike confirm that device is compliant as per my company policy. Then only it is going to allow. Also, if I want to say block the traffic, if it is going to be detected by the Zscaler deception that certain behavior is like suspicious, then it is going to block. Means it is going to give the intelligent over the basic. Means whatever the basic security we have, on top of that, it is going to give advanced intelligence. On that advanced intelligence, you are going to be give the more features to identify that particular any kind of threats, any kind of the malware, any kind of the behavior which is going to be dangerous for your network. So that is going to add another layer of intelligence of making a decisions to control your security parameters. That's the security policy. I mean, security policy. So you can go and just read about this, and you're going to find even it's all in my in slides. Even I go and check the slides also. So ZPA security policy has set up the rule that zero trust. So it's going to give the generic things, but if I go in my slides, you are going to find isolation security policy. You can see it is going to check the posture enforcement. Means as I mentioned that OS patches, firewall enabled or not enabled, disk encryption active or not, no jailbreak root, updated antivirus. This one I given the example, right? So they have a lot of kind of the checks that is going to happen. Means device level advanced posture is going to check here. EDR integrations, like they are going to check any kind of the CrowdStrike, what is the score they have, are the devices going to be, means endpoint like detection response device, we have the integrations, like every device use the endpoint solutions. That's a CrowdStrike is quite famous. So they are going to do some verification, and based on that, they're going to take action. Deception, I talk, right? Deception. Zscaler using leverage the deception technology, and any behavior based they observe something is going to wrong, then this policy is going to basically come in a picture, and they are going to be protect, like changing the behavior, malicious behavior, and DLP and CASB. This also I discuss. So this is how it is going to happen, right? And you guys can read in slide also. So I'm not going to read, but I hope you guys understand about this concept. Now what list? Security policy. We left with the privilege policy. So what is the privilege policy, guys? So if I talk about the privilege policy, this is a quite new policy. Okay. This is the purpose. What is the purpose to use this privilege policy? Purpose to define access. If I want to define access or block access, the privilege internal application. What is the privilege internal applications? That is like SSH. This is going to use for the device login. You're going to use the RDP. Okay. VNC. These are the applications admin console, right? Out of band, we are going to use that. These are different kind of the things we are going to use. So it is going to define privilege policy. If I go here, let me show you. probably console policy, credentials, and portals. So you can see I can go and add the policy. It is going to be file upload, clipboard copy, record session, join session, file download. Lot of criteria is there. But basically it is going to use to managing the privileged user access, like what role is going to be my IT admins, what is role is going to be my contractor, what is the role is going to be my any kind of the remote staffs, how if remote staff is connecting my any RDP, does I need to allow the session or only my IT people should be enable that RDP. If my contractor remote support, field support is accessing some router switches, shall I deny the SSH connections or I need to allow? So this is how it is going to happen. So if I go in my slide also, you can see here privilege policy. Privilege policy provides the granular control over the access to high risk application and protocols such as the SSH, RDP and database connections and administrator interface. These policies are essential to protecting your most sensitive system. Who need this privilege access, right? The IT administrator, database administrator, external user contractor vendor, DevOps engineer, security team and performing. So they are going to check each and everything. And based on that, they are going to be allow your access. So this is the privilege policy. Means even download, upload, enable, everything is going to be checked. But it is going to just verify. Let me privilege. If I go here, credential policy. How credential is going to define? Then again, you can see credentials you can create for different departments, for different vendors as well. And based on that, you can privilege console you can give for the different applications. Here it is going to come. Right now, nothing is there, but we'll see later. So I hope you guys understand this one as well. Now, last but not least policy type we have, that is the redirect policy. What is the redirect policy? It's very easy. Redirect policy, redirection policy, basically it's known as the redirect policy, also called that. Means what is the purpose for this redirection policy? Why you use? That is basically redirect traffic based on the user behavior or application requirement. Sometime, let's suppose we are using the Facebook and suddenly we is going in the chat. So we going to redirect my applications if it is allowed from Facebook app, Facebook posting to Facebook chat, right? So that is one example. But in GPA, what happened? If I want to use the redirect policy, that means I'm redirecting from browser to GPA client or browser access. Means one application which is accessing as a browser base, might be I can redirect to the GPA client base. It is going to use the GPA client, this app, or might be I can again go for the browser isolation based access. So what happened? They use the dynamic redirection concept, right? That's going to be redirect from VPN to GPA, GPA to the browser access to again it's going to be browser isolation scenario, and also sometime redirect browser access if app require the isolations. Means if certain applications you are accessing and that saying that this application must be accessed in the isolation environment, means browser isolation example, means the environment, then in that situation it has to be redirect. Take an example. If I say any user trying to access the RDP via any kind of the native app. What is a native app? We have the lot of native app available for RDP, right? We have the multiple RDP apps. I forgot the name, RDP app. Take an example, RDP apps. We have a lot of RDP apps names. You can see TeamViewer, AnyDesk, Microsoft Remote Desktop. This is the RDP app, right? So any RDP app you are accessing, right? And I want to make sure if someone is going to access this RDP to access my any company database, the moment they will open this RDP, okay? This let's suppose I'm opening the TeamViewer, okay? And I'm trying to access my remote like desktop. It will automatically redirect in the browser. Means the software is going to bypass. Understand what I'm trying to make a point here. Let's suppose this is a user. This is a PC. This PC have the one software installed, that is a TeamViewer. TeamViewer is one software. You might be. Via TeamViewer, you're taking the RDP of my office laptop. But if I am using the redirection policy, what is going to happen? The moment I will open this TeamViewer, I try to take access, it will redirect in the browser, mid company browser in the isolation environment, right? And take another example. Let's suppose I am using the mobile app. Very simple example. This mobile app having the Facebook applications, Instagram application. These are installed in my mobile, right? Let's suppose for mobile also I have created the redirection policy. I create the redirection policy and I say, hey, the moment you are going to hit this FB application which is in the mobile, it will redirect to your mobile browser, might be the Google, Chrome, whatever. This is the beauty of the redirection policy. Means you define certain policy where you hitting to the app, but it is putting in the browser. Sometime you putting the browser, it is going to redirect to the app as well. So it's totally depend how it is going to happen. So let me explain in the slide also. I hope you guys understand. I try my best to explain this. So see this redirection policy, it's quite confusing. So I just want to make sure you understand. Automatically redirect user access attempt to most appropriate access method. Client connector to the browser. Means you accessing the client connector, it will redirect to the browser. Base device via the location application. Seamless when user don't need to know which access method to use. The policy intelligent route to the right path, improving the security. Leave it. Multi-device support. Redirect unmanaged device to browser access. This is again not example. When user attempt to connect the RTP, this is example. A native, yeah, this one I was just talking. Native remote desktop client unmanaged device. Redirect to policy automatically to the browser access. HTML5 RDP sessions. So this is what I was talking. Means you accessing any kind of the RDP session from the native remote desktop software like TeamViewer. We have a lot of applications. I again have to search in the Google. I keep forgetting. So it will redirect. Give an example, mobile phone. I have the Facebook application. You click on the Facebook, it will redirect to the browser. Clear? So I hope you guys understand. I cover all the policy. So whatever the policy we have, I cover every policy and I try best. Only lab part is pending. I will cover that lab also one by one for the all policy. We'll see all use case one by one later on. But here you'll see that the purpose and the real-time use cases I explain for the all things. And I hope you love these sessions. And if you have any query, any questions, and you want to learn this complete course, right, for the Zscaler. So I prepared the course here. Let me show you. You can go and you can directly take from the portal as well. This video is also going to be there. If I go here, where is the course? Here is a go and GIA GPA course is there. You can always go and find, even see in GIA course, almost every concept I cover, everything, DLP, NSS, pack file, everything. So you guys go and explore. This is created by me only, right? And even GPA also, this video is also going to be added. And we keep updating the videos for the all topics. So if I go here again and go in the GPA also, you're going to find this GPA. We have a lot of like how to deploy the GCC client connector, IDP provisioning, SCIM integration, IP source anchoring, tunnel, right? We have to enrollment process and also GPA connector deployment step-by-step process. This was the video I was talking about, the connector which I was showing. And also we'll add this all policy type and later we'll keep adding the another things as well in the sessions. Any questions, any comment, you guys visit this particular website, learn.guinet, or you can just visit our website, main website, that is a guinet.com, right? And you can always reach out to support team by clicking on the contact us. You're going to find the number and emails. You can chat, you can put your any requirement, and then definitely team is going to help you out. I hope this session was good, right? And you always share your feedbacks. I'll take as a positive. And thank you so much. Have a great evening.